I just wanted to start off by saying to Miss Hagman and to Taylor's parents, thank you so much for listening to this conference and hearing what information I have for Taylor and what we've learned this semester and how she's grown and how I've assessed her throughout these last couple of months and where she's grown and what we've worked on. The first day of working with Taylor, I was able to work with her on Bader. The Bader Reading and Language Inventory 2013 is a collection of qualitative and quantitative assessments that guide the information gathering and subsequent analysis of a variety of language and literacy dimensions. The design and use of this inventory allows K through 12 educators and literacy specialists to determine each learner's literacy level and plan appropriate instruction. The examiner, KU teacher, Miss Chad, selected to administer the graded word list and graded reading passages with Taylor to document her instructional literacy level and subsequent skills and concept building lessons. As such, this Bader Reading and Language 2013 was used not as a screener, but rather for placement and progress purposes. Word recognition in isolation, the ability to automatically recognize words or decode them without the context of a sentence or paragraph, was assessed using the graded worded lists. These lists of 10 words are organized by complexity and grouped into grade level equivalencies. The range of these graded words scan perimeter PP, which is kindergarten through 8th grade. Each of these grade level equivalencies are described by a numeric level, 2.0, and is also represented by a letter, like D. So 2.0D refers to the 2nd grade level. The letters used in this description of the Bader are not the same scale as those used in the Fontos and Pinnell guided reading levels. Taylor was asked to read through each list of 10 words until she either missed 4 of the 10 words or asked to stop reading. Taylor asked to keep going up to the 8th grade word list. She was able to say 4 of the words on the list. She was determined to keep going. Although she only got 4 on the 8th grade level, we looked back at the 7th grade list. She got all of them but explanation and economical. As we started the word list, Taylor got everything correct until the 4th grade list, where she said though instead of through. As we continued on to list 5, she missed 3, which included saying circus instead of curious and then self-correcting herself. She showed her determination, and I continued to see that through the semester of working with her. In asking me to continue on with the word list, even when missing 2 to 3 on the word list after list 6. Word recognition, in context, fluency, and comprehension skills were assessed using the graded reader's passages. Using these passages for teaching and learning determines the learner's independent and instructional reading levels. A learner's independent level is just what is implied, that she can decode, read, and understand almost 100% of the text without support from another person or resource. A learner's instructional level is that where she can decode, read, and understand 80 to 90% of the text/content and depends on another person or resource to attain 100% accuracy in word recognition and fluency and comprehension. Taylor's first passage for use in this assessment was determined through her progress on the graded word lists and any information about her preferences of topic/types of text. Taylor was asked to read 2 word lists, the graded passage 8EA and 7EB. Looking at passage 8EA first, which was named Kon-Tiki, she showed great skill and comprehension, but I was able to see the first signs of her skipping words and or inserting her own words into the sentences. This passage was very complex, and she did very well considering that. As we looked at the 2nd graded passage, 7EB, which was called Questions About Dinosaurs, she had 3 errors on the whole page, one of which was self-correction and the other 2 were her adding and or leaving out words. I was very impressed with a 4th grader reading at a 7th grade passage level. With working with Miss Hagman and looking at Taylor's language ability, I was able to determine that Taylor's language development is average through the Bader testing that we talked about previously and her recommended level of instruction, which is a 7th grade level. I have seen that she needs help with automacy, self-monitoring, and vocabulary. In language development, she needs help with vocabulary development. Taylor has many strengths, which include being able to recognize errors when closing her eyes and listening. We did multiple tests where she was able to notice when there needed to be a comma in a sentence by closing her eyes and listening to where I pause. She shows great strength in her eagerness to learn and is excited about working with those around her. Every day that I walked into the class, I was greeted with a big smile and a hug, welcoming me into the classroom and telling me she was excited for what today held. I have assessed through self-assessments and through talking with Miss Hagman that Taylor struggles with vocabulary and understanding definitions of words and how to compose them into sentences. I have also seen that she needs to further instruction with finding errors in punctuation and the misspelling of words. Through this, at the beginning of the semester, I was able to develop 5 specific tasks that I would be working on Taylor with throughout this semester. First was that the vocabulary will be the key task that Taylor will need to work on this semester. She is given vocab lists when they start a new list in class. She will need to work on understanding the meaning of the word as well as being able to write them in a sentence. She can do this by writing sentences that make sense while using the proper and correct spelling of the word. My next task was that Taylor also needed to work on punctuation. She did not understand where to put a comma in a sentence, although when she closes her eyes, she can hear the pause and understand that a comma is needed there. For this, I would like to work with her on comma and proper punctuation by having her write sentences or looking over sentences that need correcting, making sure she corrects them properly by looking for errors. The third task that I wanted to work with Taylor on was that she struggled with self-confidence in reading. She is hesitant to read aloud, and I would really like to work with her on building her confidence, seeing her raise her hand in class and being confident in her reading abilities. She is at a high level with word lists, but lacks being confident in reading full sentences. Working one-on-one with her will hopefully help her realize it's okay to make mistakes and that if something sounds wrong, you can always go back and correct it. The fourth task I created at the time was that Taylor will leave out whole words or insert words into sentences. For this, I would like to create a task of making sure that she reads every word and doesn't add extra words to the sentences, making this possible by having her point to the words she is on and going back if she hears something that is not correct. I think for the first couple of times of working with her, I will ask her to go back and check to make sure she didn't leave anything out or add anything, and trying to self-correct her. Hopefully by the end of this task she will be able to recognize that errors are on her own and I will not have to correct her. Finally, the last task I created to work with her was that Taylor likes to write stories, so I will utilize this by making her write stories using vocab words to further work on her understanding vocabulary. She will write stories and we will go through them, checking on her task of not leaving out the inserted words and or adding her own. Working on her vocabulary skills will incorporate all of the tasks that I have added in building her self-confidence, and it will also incorporate me being able to assess the growth at the end of the semester. My first lesson plan I created for Taylor consisted of the Bader passages to assess her needs. Next, we stepped into vocabulary understanding and being able to write sentences that made sense while using the given vocabulary. Although vocabulary was the bulk of what I worked on with Taylor, my goal was to also strengthen her writing skills in it. We ranged from writing vocab words on a whiteboard to writing sentences using vocab to finally ending with writing stories using given vocab words. Taylor showed amazing growth in the semester of working with her. She not only grew on her vocab skills, but in her self-confidence in writing and sharing aloud to the class. From the first lesson to the last, I was able to see Taylor's growth in complex forming of sentences. She was able to add more vocab to her sentences and was able to add proper punctuation, as well as eliminating her insertion of words and her eliminating of other words of the sentences. I was also able to see her self-confidence grow as she was able to raise her hand in class and felt confident in her ability to read passages aloud to her fellow classmates. She was eager to learn and put forth great effort as a fourth grader. She showed great promise, and I really hope, by the things that I tell next, that she will be able to continue on with her confidence and her writing abilities. Taylor's next steps would consist of writing longer stories using complex sentences and use of vocabulary words. This will continue to improve her writing fluency and self-confidence. A way in which she can do this in class would be to write stories that included the use of vocabulary that the teacher has provided and hand them in to the teacher for self-monitoring. Once she has done this, she can go back and self-correct her errors. In the classroom, Taylor uses Blackboard, which allows her to get online to see vocab words. In this, she will be able to strengthen her vocab ability by writing things and playing games that are provided to her by Miss Hagman. My hope is that with these tips and these next steps that Taylor will continue to grow as she goes into her 5th grade year and 6th grade and into middle school.